Now let's go back and take a look at the tween we just created. I'm going to bring my playhead back along with it. And actually, I think I need to move my timeline a little bit too, so we can see our content panel tween, and I can see the path that was created. Now if we pay close attention to the actual path, I can see all the dots that represent the frames along the path, and we can see that they're nice and evenly spaced. That's basically what a default tween is going to look like. Even spacing of those dots means it's going to be smooth motion. Since each one of those dots represents a frame, and if my object moves the same distance per frame, we're going to get also constant speed out of this object. Now that's nice because it's smooth, but it's not very natural looking. If you remember back to some of the presets that we used in the last chapter, they had some slowing at the end of the animation. And in Flash, we call that easing. Now we actually have a pretty easy way to add this to our animation, pretty much any animation you want to. It's right over in the Motion Tween panel. We've got a whole section just for ease. So let's take a look at this one. Now you can see that the default setting is 0 for our tween, and that's what's giving us the constant speed that we're seeing right here. If you want to change that, we're just going to change the number. Now we'll just go over and change that ease value, and let's see what it does to our animation. If I click and drag on any of the fields in the property window, I can adjust them just by dragging over to the side. And you can see if I pull right, the number increases, but it maxes out at 100. And when I let go, the word out appears. Now an ease out, in this case, refers to the direction. Now we can see all the dots bunching up at the end of the animation, and an ease out tells us that the speed change is going to occur at the end, not at the beginning. Remember, all these dots indicate how much my panel moves per frame. And if it starts moving less and less per frame, then it's going to appear to slow down. Now if we pull the other way, we'll get a minus number. So let me just pull this down until we can see the easing number goes negative. And the maximum negative value is going to be minus 100. When I see a minus value in my easing section, that indicates that the speed change is going to occur at the beginning of the animation. Let me just pull this over here a little bit, and you can see that now all the dots are bunched up on this side. At the start of the animation, my panel moves just a little bit, and then a little bit more, and increases until it gets to the center of the screen. So, at full speed, it'll appear to be speeding up. Now at this point, our panel looks like it would be sliding into the frame, accelerating, and then it would jam to the stop in the middle. So I actually probably want an ease out for this one. Let's just switch it back. I'll make sure I have my Motion Tween properties by selecting the Motion Tween itself, and I can just drag this over to the positive side. Now as far as the number goes, let me put it in the middle. What you'll see is just the degree of change. You can see that at 50, I don't quite get down to that small little movement at the end. So it's slowing down, but it doesn't quite stop at that point. So I'm just going to pull it all the way back out to 100. And there you can see that the last few frames, it's barely moving at all, which really means it's slowing down. Now let's see how that looks at full speed. I'm just going to back my playhead up just a little bit so that my panel's off the screen. And I'll hit the return or the enter key. And we can see that our panel just glides in nicely to a stop. Now I really like easing when we're dealing with animation because what it really is doing is creating natural motion. I like to do a little demo for this that really shows this off. So let's try this out by going over to another file so we can play around a bit. I'm going to go over to the File menu, choose New, and create a brand new Flash ActionScript 3 file. Now let me just zoom out a bit, and we'll go up to our drawing tools, and we'll draw a little bouncing ball. I'll grab the oval tool, and we'll set it up. I'm going to remove the stroke from the oval tool, and I'm going to set the fill color to, let's say, this black and white radial gradient here at the bottom. And I'm also going to turn off drawing mode because I want to just draw a normal element. And we'll go and draw a circle. I'll hold down the Shift key to make sure we're just getting a normal shape. And lastly, I'm going to make a quick change to the gradient by going into the Gradient Transform tool. We'll click on that gradient, and I'll just move it off a little bit. We'll click off of it, and there we've got a nice ball shape. Now we want to create a little motion tween with this, so let me select our ball shape, pull it up to the top middle of the screen here, and I'll go ahead and let the program do all the work. I'm just going to insert a tween. We'll choose motion tween. I'll click OK, and it'll make that into a symbol, and it'll set up my basic tween. Now my cursor's already at the end of the tween, so I can just make a change here by pulling the ball down, and that's going to be the first part of our animation. Now I want another part of the animation where the ball bounces back up. Here's a great shortcut for you. We've already seen that we can grab a tween and move it around. I can move it around in the timeline. Now if you've ever used drag copy in this or any other program, you'll know that holding down the Option key or the Alt key while you're moving something creates a copy of it. A lot of people do that in the stage area if you want to create a copy of a graphic, but we can also do it with a tween as well. I'm going to click on the tween, and I'm going to move it, but I'm going to hold the Alt or Option key down, depending on whether you're on a Mac or PC. And you see the little plus sign come up. That indicates that I'm actually moving a copy, not the original. So I've got two tweens. Now I'll take the second tween, and I actually want it to be the ball bouncing back up. So I'm going to right-click on it. Now if you don't have a two-button mouse, you can just hold down Control while you click on the Mac. And at the bottom, I've got some motion path settings. And what I can do is reverse the path of the motion. Now let's see what we've got. I'll drag this around. We've got the ball falling down, and now we've got it bouncing back up. That's a great easy way to make a looping animation. Now let's test our movie and see what we've created. I'm going to go over to Control, Test Movie. It'll compile a SWF, and we can see our animation. Now it's looping back and forth, and we can see that this ball looks okay, but it doesn't look very good. It looks a little robotic or kind of mechanical. I'm going to close that on up. And basically what we're seeing there is the ball doesn't look natural, because things don't move that way in real life. In real life, if we have a ball falling, it's going to speed up because of gravity. When it hits the ground and bounces back up in the air, it's going to slow down because of gravity as well. Now that works for up and down animations, but even side-to-side animations. If we have a car that's speeding onto the scene and stops on the stage, it's going to slow down before it actually stops. In real life, we rarely have anything that's going to move at a constant speed and then just instantly stop. Now let's see what adding just a little bit of easing to this ball animation is going to do to the effect. I'm going to take the first tween where the ball is falling down, and it should accelerate. It should speed up. So that's going to be an ease in. Now we're going to pull that back until we reach all the way to -100. And you can see that my ball is barely moving at the beginning, and it's speeding up as it goes down towards the floor. Now we can take the other tween, the one where the ball is bouncing back up in the air, and we'll do the opposite. We'll set that to an ease out. And remember, the speed change is going to be at the end of the animation. I'll pull that all the way out to +100, and we can see the out pop up there. Now let's just test our movie again. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut this time. That's going to be Control-Enter or Command-Return if you're on the Mac. And now we get a much more realistic animation. That ball looks very real, and it's moving the way a real ball should. That's what we're looking for in our animation, so let me just close that on up. Now let's just switch back to our Flash site.